Welcome everybody to today's 1M1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. This is one of our free public roundtables, and I am absolutely thrilled to celebrate with you our 150th session. So this is 1M1M's 150th roundtable, and I can't tell you how satisfying it is to be here with you all and celebrate this milestone. We started this as an experiment in 2008. I was invited that summer to do a kind of an in-person roundtable with entrepreneurs, and I did actually two of these in Silicon Valley that summer, summer of 2008, at the offices of two law firms. One had 50 entrepreneurs in the room, and in a 2-hour period, I think about 30 of them pitched me, and I had this kind of rapid-fire discussion with them on their businesses. The other one was a smaller session. I think it was about 25, 30 people, and all of them, they were around the table. It was really a round table, and they all talked to me about what they were doing, and we had this brainstorming session similar to what we do at these roundtables. And at that time, it had kind of struck me that, is there a way to do this on a regular basis, on an online basis with entrepreneurs all over the world, and see if we can provide some sort of a, discussion platform where people can get feedback on their business strategies. And that experiment, that little experiment, led us to today's 150th roundtable. And of course, the 1M1M program itself is very much predicated upon these kinds of sessions. So I'll tell you more as we go along in the session of how we have developed the program and what we have taken from these various roundtable discussions. But let's actually announce our big New Year challenge, which we are going to be kicking off today. So we are going to have a New Year Challenge Pitch Fest on January 10th and 17th, for which the applications are starting today. The link is on your screen, and we will put that link on public chat as well. Maureen, please go ahead and share the link and the information throughout the session today, because people will be trickling in all through the hour and a half. We will be awarding 12 scholarships to the 1M1M program, 1-year scholarships, and we're going to be picking 20 finalists from the applications that are going to be coming in. Now, one part of this application process is that after you apply, if you get selected for the voting round, you are going to have to drum up votes from your friends and fellow entrepreneurs on Facebook. So that will determine who the finalists are going to be. This is a contest that we've decided that we will let the audience judge instead of us judging, and we will select the 20 finalists based on audience participation. So go ahead and look at the link and start exploring the contest, those of you who are interested in applying for it, and we'll come back to this and talk more about it at the end of the session. The structure of today's session primarily is going to be our regular working session. This is how we work with our entrepreneurs. The only difference is all the members today who are going to be presenting and discussing their strategy with me are premium 1M1M members. So you will get some visibility into how they have been using the program, what kind of progress they've made over the time that they've been in the program. And some of them actually have been in the program for a couple of years, or at least over a year. They're in their second year of participation in the program. So a lot of progress has been made in the program by each of these entrepreneurs. So you'll get a flavor of how they're moving along, what decisions they're making. In some cases, you'll see unorthodox decisions. And sometimes these decisions have been different from what they came in with the expectations that they came into the program with of how they would be navigating their journey. They've made changes to those expectations, and you will learn to some extent about some of those decisions as well. So what I really wanted you to have in this 150th session is a real deep flavor of how we work with entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurs today whom you meet are Dan Stewart, Gulin Ilmaz, Kevin Fullerton, Kimbra Orr, and Ajit Narayanan. And they are from various different parts of the world, various different origins, various different locations of working, and we will introduce them as we do their segments. The event is being recorded, so you will have the recording available on YouTube. You can share it, embed it, whatever you want to do with it, listen to it. If you're live tweeting the show on Twitter, please use the hashtag 1M1M. And our 1M1M Twitter ID is at 1M by 1M. And my Twitter ID is at Sramana. So please feel free to incorporate all of that into your orbits. You're welcome to connect with us. And also, if you're live tweeting, please use hashtag 1M1M. We very much encourage live tweeting. Now, one other thing, I talked about the recording being available on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and we suggest that you subscribe to the channel just to be notified of new recordings being uploaded. Every week, we upload these sessions, and a lot of people just listen to it to learn from them of what kinds of businesses are being discussed and what kinds of feedback those businesses are getting. So first up today is Happy Grasshopper. Dan Stewart is an entrepreneur in Florida who's been in the program for a couple of years and is a really great success story in the program. Dan came into the program with zero revenue, and I think at that point, if I recall correctly, Dan, you were actually thinking of raising money and going a certain route with the business. But today, Dan has not raised any financing and is already at $250,000 in revenue this year. So it's been a very, very systematic process of business building. Dan will give you an overview, and then we will do some, work today on Dan's business. Dan, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Sramana. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here, and every time I talk with you, I always learn something. And I liked what you said about 1M by 1M developing out of this process of experimentation, because that's exactly how we got started. We had a hunch that what we wanted to do might work for people, but we didn't know that it could actually be a business. So we started sending our first messages in October of 2010, and I joined 1M by 1M in February of 2011, and then we incorporated in March. So, right from the start, the program's been helpful for us in establishing a structure to work within and really follow that systematic curriculum that's helped us in so many ways achieve the success that we have. So here on this first slide, you saw those crazy pictures of me traveling all over North America and Canada. I've been out to Hawaii. I visited dozens and dozens of different trade shows within the vertical of real estate that we're trying to grow our business within. So with that as a backdrop, let's give you a little bit of perspective about Happy Grasshopper. We bill ourselves as the easiest way to keep in touch. And what we do is actually very simple. We're a writing service, and we create fun, friendly, conversation-starting messages for our customers, and we do it once every 3 weeks. Now, unlike other systems and services and drip email, this isn't do-it-yourself, and it's not stale old drip content that was written once and has been sent an unknown number of times by an unknown number of people. We actually promise our customers that every recipient who receives our message will be the only recipient who gets it. So those are some key differentiators that have allowed us to grow in the real estate space. Our customers are comprised mainly of salespeople and small business owners. We do have users today in about 40 different sales verticals, but from a marketing and grow your business perspective, we're really still just focused on the real estate vertical. We haven't tried to reach out to people in any other verticals. They're just hearing about us from word of mouth. So that's been really fun. And what we do, although it's really simple, it's not without purpose. I really look at the mission of what we do as to help people see salespeople as authentic human beings, what they are. We want to break down those walls of I'm selling something and you're a prospect. I believe the days of being so manipulative in the sales process are dead, and the people who are still practicing that every day, they really need to evolve. And so what we do is help people make those authentic human connections, and that's the compelling why that really guides everything that we do at our company. We measure things.
One thing I want to point out, as Dan is explaining to you what Happy Grasshopper is, Dan made a very smart decision very early on in his journey, which is to focus on the real estate vertical. Real estate agents were responding to his value proposition very early on. We figured that out early, and we decided to really go deep into that vertical. So for all of you who are doing positioning work right now, please keep that in mind. Finding a segment that is resonating with your value proposition and really going deep into the segment works. It has worked from time immemorial, and it will work for you. It is a tried and true principle of positioning and business building. There's no reason not to do it. Go ahead, Dan.
I totally agree, of course, and there's so many things we like about the real estate vertical. From a build your business perspective, it offers a clearly defined vertical with lots of events, lots of opportunities for us to put our message in front of people. There are established communities in social media. There's established communities that are available through individual franchises, and as well as through events that are continually being held for that industry. So it just made a lot of sense for us to really limit our focus there. So you see, I define our ideal customer as this busy salesperson, and typically they're working in an industry where the consumer can't tell them apart. So if you think about a real estate agent or an insurance salesman or a mortgage broker, for example, we all know dozens of these people. They are tripping over themselves to earn our business. And as consumers, we have a really tough time deciding if one is better than another. And so that confusion causes us to rely on relationships and recommendations and referrals from friends. So we know that if we can help our customers stay more visible in the minds of people who already know them, they'll get more referrals and they'll make more sales. And so for 2 years now, we've been proving that, and we've been able to provide literally millions of dollars in sales for our customers. It's tremendously fulfilling and exciting for us to do that. When you take a look at the market that we're serving, today again we're focused just on real estate. There's a sizable market there, and when you lump in insurance and financial sales, including mortgage, it again more than doubles. And if we look at the total number of people who are employed in sales just in the U.S. economy, it's really a tremendously huge market that's available for us to tap into. So let's take a look at the next slide. Our customer acquisition strategy. The way that you choose to acquire customers is just incredibly important. And we made a decision early in 2012 that has turned out to work really well for us. As you saw, I've done quite a bit of travel. And my strategy was to build relationships with people who have high visibility inside the real estate world. And we decided that public speaking could be an effective way to do this. But for clarity here, it's not just any public speaking, because we've all seen lots of bad speeches, right? So what I like to do is to tell stories that emotionally engage the audience, where I can really deliver something to them that helps them connect with me as a human being. So I tell true stories about, like when I was a kid, I was on a boat that sank, and we were marooned for a couple of days in the water. I tell a story about an entrepreneur I met early in my life who told me 4 words that I think about literally every single day of my life. And I talk about the quantum leaps that I've been able to make in my career, where oftentimes I'm so focused on doing more and working harder that I'm not working smart. And with just a small change in what I'm doing, I've been able to get these exponential changes in productivity. So when I get the opportunity to speak, I really want to take the audience on a journey. And I want to deliver for them something that they're going to remember and something that they're going to learn from. So that strategy, when done well, creates a lot of visibility. It provides credibility for me as an entrepreneur, which is then transferred onto our brand. And it also unlocks opportunity that is typically a little harder to get at. So in our case, that strategy has allowed our other customer acquisition strategies and tactics to really work more effectively. So it's allowed us to specifically work on technology partnerships and association and MLS relationships that I don't believe we would have been able to attain otherwise. It's also allowed us to earn respect of the professional speakers who really work within the real estate space. And now those speakers, when they're on stage, they're telling stories about our customers who are having success using Happy Grasshopper. So that's really helped to amplify the visibility that we've got in the space in a very low-cost way. Now, some of those speakers, they do choose to participate in our affiliate program, but the vast majority of them just really want to share a message about something that's working for people. And then from like a more standard customer acquisition strategy standpoint, we do email marketing. We have a triggered campaign that's very effective. It's triggered when people request a sample from our website. And we also do limited Facebook, LinkedIn, and AdWords PPC campaigns. I still feel like we have a lot to learn with those particular strategies, but I do know that what's working for us today is to just bring exposure to user success stories. So instead of, hey, we're Happy Grasshopper, we say, hey, XYZ person just made this much money, here's how they did it. And so people go there for the story, they don't go there to be sold. But we know that if they learn the story, if they understand why it's working, they're more likely to become a better customer of ours. So we're fortunate. We've got hundreds of...
Sorry, Dan, to interrupt you.
It's okay.
One of the things we've talked about is how to scale the speaking engagements. I think the speaking has really worked well for you, and telling the stories of how your customers are benefiting from the Happy Grasshopper service. And one of the game plans for 2013 for you is to really explore the webinar world and do what you've done in-person speaking and amplify that way more by using the webinar method of getting the word out.
Exactly. And we've gone ahead and subscribed to the WebEx service, and we're having results already. I've done a webinar with a partner called Active Rain, and they brought several hundred people into the webinar, and we converted well out of it. So definitely a strategy we'll be pursuing more of. And what it really comes down to is just being able to elicit these raving fan testimonials from our client base. Once we get that type of response, it's easy to just keep that sort of story reverberating via social media and in other ways, speaking, of course, as well. So we really focus on that because we need prospects to understand that story. So if you'll take a look here at this slide, you see the business model section in the upper right-hand side. There's a lot of data here, but there's just a few things I want to point out. Our service is very inexpensive, and it's gated according to the number of contacts that a person has in their account with us. There are no contracts. We're a month-to-month service, and we back everything we do with a 100% money-back guarantee. So what we've tried to do is remove every obstacle that would prevent someone from deciding to try our service. And, well, one thing that's really interesting is that we used to have a free trial, but when we took it away and we started charging $5 for their first 30 days, people would actually upload their contact list. They would actually approve their message. So not only did we convert more people to a trial, but the people who did start the trial, a greater percentage of them went on to become our customers long term. So that's sort of a counterintuitive thing that, the testing and measuring that you've encouraged me to do has been very helpful in us figuring that out.
And I've generally, all of you have heard this from me over the course of our work together. Don't give too much for free, because freemium sounds very good and everything, but freemium does have very low conversion rates, and you do need to make money. The whole point of your being in business is to make money. So if it's going to cost you a lot of money to support a free service or a free product of some sort, and it's going to really, be left to chance to convert into actual dollars or rupees or, Turkish lira, whatever, you just have to make sure that you don't go down that path and put yourself out of business by offering free stuff for too long.
You may recall, if you go back to that last slide, you look under the users and delivery data section. We launched on a freemium. Today we have over 3,300 users. I think that's just outstanding. And over 1,000 of them are monthly recurring revenue users. So, that's even better. But we've got about 2,000 users who have signed up and use our service all the time, but they're just not motivated to convert from the freemium model. So,
but I mean, the fact that you've converted over 20% is incredibly good, because the freemium conversion rates tend to be in the 1 to 2% range. If you're doing 4% conversion from free to premium, you're doing very well. So you are doing extraordinarily well.
You can't look at our data that way, though, because really it doesn't reflect that. We got to about 2,000 free users, and we were converting a very small percentage of them to paid. So that, the third of our customer base that's paying us now is because we stopped offering it free, and we ended up converting a lot more customers that way.
Right. That's right.
So people will use what they pay for. They'll sign up for stuff that's free all the time, and they may or may not use it.
Yep.
So
that's
yeah, that's been huge for us, certainly. Thanks for your guidance on moving away from the freemium. Now, looking forward to 2013, we have just an incredibly busy year coming up. I'm very happy to announce that we've got several partnership, MLS, and association deals that are in place. And so one of our biggest challenges for next year is going to be to scale efficiently while maintaining our standards. It's very important to us to do that. So we're already starting to staff some new positions and work on training new people. And we're also planning product improvements that will allow us to serve this larger volume of clients more efficiently. So part of that is expanding our user experience to include automated lead response for every type of web lead. So today, Happy Grasshopper is an outstanding way to start conversations between people that know each other. And what we're working towards is a tomorrow where our services will include automated lead response specifically designed to position each salesperson as the authentic human being that they are. So our goal there is to stop the prospect shopping as soon as possible. And we can do that by instantly delivering compelling content that's unique for each of our customers. So
let me point out a couple of things here, Dan.
Sure.
So, folks, Dan has validated the business, right? As you can see, there is serious revenue in the business now, and the value proposition is validated. There are raving testimonials and blah, blah, blah. So it's a business that is validated. And once you have reached that stage, you start seeing options of developing channel partnerships that can accelerate your go-to-market strategy. And that's the stage that Dan has gotten himself to. So there are fairly large players in the real estate vertical that are now in discussion with Happy Grasshopper to do OEM deals or distribution deals, value-added reseller deals, kinds of stuff. And we are working on the structures of those deals and how to do those deals, how to service those deals in terms of, what infrastructure do you need to service those deals. Now, Dan, one thing I would suggest you do as you're negotiating the deals is to kind of create TAM analysis for each of those deals. And, let's say you have a channel partner X, and I'm not taking any names just because this is a public roundtable. You don't want to disclose whom you're negotiating with necessarily. But the ones that you are negotiating with, you have some statistics about their, their number of agents in their portfolio and in their customer base or user base and so forth. What does that translate to? What do you expect to convert out of that into your users, paying users, and what is the deal structure, and what is the TAM for the partner, what is the TAM for you? That gives you a kind of a business plan to work with. So when you go into these meetings, if you have those numbers handy, those are great ways to move the discussion forward.
That makes a lot of sense. I know that every deal is a little bit different, and when we're talking about an association or an MLS partnership, their goal is to provide Happy Grasshopper as a member benefit. So, that's an excellent problem from our perspective, because we get instant exposure to, tens or even hundreds of thousands of agents that we don't have exposure with now. But we know that some percentage of that number will already be our paying customer. So we're thinking that the volume is going to really make the difference there, and it shouldn't be an issue, but it's kind of an interesting thing to worry about, don't you think?
Well, yes, I think it's a good problem to have. If it's a problem of that your customers are coming and you need the infrastructure to scale, that is a good problem to have. But it has its challenges. Obviously, it has its challenges, and
Sure.
you're going to have to set yourself up to tackle those challenges. So I think that that's a very good point to to segue into our next presenters. I think Dan has come a long way. Really, I'm very proud of the work that, the progress that Happy Grasshopper has made, and I think, Dan is a great entrepreneur. We've just produced a little bit of help here and help there. We've inserted a little bit of coaching here and coaching there, and I think Dan has used the curriculum very, very well. I will talk to you more about how to use the curriculum, the way Dan has used, and some of the Gulin is using the curriculum very well. I see that regularly. So you will learn a lot about how these people are making the kind of progress they're making. So thank you, Dan. I'm sure people have lots of questions for you in public chat. Please feel free to engage with them while we move on to Kimbra's presentation.
Thank you, Sramana, and congratulations on your 150th Roundtable. It's exciting to be part of it. To give you background, a little different from Dan, I certainly wish I had your knowledge to tap into when I was starting my business. I have learned a lot of lessons the difficult way throughout the years. I started my business, Kimbra Studios, in the basement of my home in 1998. My background is in graphic design, so I'm always looking at everything from the design perspective, and I was looking for a gift at the time and questioned why we hid treasured memories behind lockets. So from that idea, I created the concept of custom photo jewelry. And if you want to go to the next slide, Kimbra Studios offers custom photo jewelry and gifts. The customers upload their photographs to our website at kimbrastudios.com, and they create one-of-a-kind keepsakes, like it's all solid sterling jewelry, and we have holiday ornaments, keychains, many different items, wine stoppers, all types of fun products that allow people to show off their passion, their love, and their memories. We reproduce their photographs and we seal them into each piece so that everything is completely waterproof. And the company, I've had the company for over 15 years. It's been a great business with steady growth, and it's been consistent. Our main demographic is young mothers, 25 to about 35. However, we cover so many markets, the pet market, the wedding market, the older female demographics with their vintage photographs of family members. We move into specialty advertising with logos, and we also do licensed products. We have an Elvis Presley license. So it's a very broad market. And my main priority has always been high-quality products, and excellent customer service is really important to me. So up to this point, the majority of our customer acquisition has been, at least on our retail website, is through word of mouth. And that is one of the areas that I really am looking to grow and get more into, move more into online SEO and marketing and all of those things. You know, as a solopreneur, your hands are so full and you're balancing so many things all of the time that it's, for me, it is definitely an area that I want to grow on is moving forward is in marketing online. We also work through photography studios, so we sell wholesale through photography studios who order for their customers, and there we acquire those new accounts by word of mouth as well, but we also have gone to a lot of trade shows, and that has built the photographer programs very quickly. So we don't have a lot of competition. We have one major competitor in the market and a few minor competitors. So the validation is there, and it's a business that has been around for a while, and it's a comfortable business. But I have to say the last year has raised some challenges for me. And Sramana, you've been great on helping me to see through a lot of that. I think a lot of times when challenge comes in business, you're faced with either defeat or change. And you helped me a lot to see that I needed to outsource marketing. And as an update on that, we have gone through that transition. And the company is in California, where I'm at right now. I actually have been at the facility, and we are definitely in our busiest time of year.
Manufacturing, not marketing.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, and it's going very, very well. Yeah, it's going well, and the transition is coming at a bit of a difficult time because we're so busy right now. November, December, we do 50% of our business. So they have their hands full, but they're doing a great job, and I just am, of course, quality is my main concern. So I come out and visit and make sure everything is running smoothly. But I'm definitely transitioning into that new role, which is my core competency for sure, the design, marketing, and sales end of things. So I'm excited, moving forward.
Let me point out a couple of things in what you've said. In general, folks, when you're running a highly resource-constrained, small business, you have to look at outsourcing carefully. You can't quite afford to do everything. You need flexible resources. You need resources that are not driving your burn rate to levels that are unsustainable, and also that are not taxing you and your personal energy or your small team's energy in ways that are unsustainable. So there are certain, building a business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not like you're going to go from 0 to 1 million in 3 months and declare victory. That's just not how business works. You are going to need the energy and the resources so that you have staying power. And we use, in the 1M1M methodology, we use outsourcing quite extensively. And I'll tell you, in our structure, the 1M1M structure, we are a small business just like you all. We have about 30 people working on this project, and a huge number of that, I guess all of them at some level or the other, are virtual, and a very large number of them are flexible resources. We have teams in Philippines, we have teams in Malaysia, we have teams in India that are on this kind of flexible resources. So that is a key way in which you deal with the resource challenges of small businesses, not just early stage businesses. All small businesses in general have this tendency, and Kimbra's business is not it's not like it started last year or the year before. It has been around as a small business, and we support a lot of these kinds of businesses. But we are happy to support a lot of these kinds of businesses and help these small business owners through their challenges, and that's what Kimbra is talking about. There is one thing that we have not talked about at all here so far is Kimbra's business, a large portion of Kimbra's business has happened through OEM relationships with online photo sharing sites. So Kimbra, if you want to talk a little bit about that before we move on to your goals and plans, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, the OEM side of the business has been part of the challenge of this year has come from losing one of those large accounts and relying on that heavily. So putting your eggs in one basket, that whole deal, I've learned that lesson big time. And the connection that you have put me in touch with, a company like Shutterfly, is a major, major account for us. And those conversations are moving forward, and that has been a tremendous contact for me. So Sramana, you helped me immensely in that area. So we are taking that contact as well as other ones within the industry, and they're going very, very well, and they're also really excited about the new collection that we are getting ready to launch next year. So,
and by the way, Mitra did not lose the account that she lost. The OEM partner she lost was for no fault of her own. The company went bankrupt. And
yeah,
then
thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, they went bankrupt, and a big lesson there for me has been watch your terms with companies, regardless of how large they are. Watch your terms, and because it hurts if they file for bankruptcy, right? So this image is of our new collection. This is more of an overview of it. But where I'm moving is into customization or personalization as a whole. So not just photographs, which is a wonderful part of it, but moving into things such as monograms, which has been done for a long time, but really customizing with numbers and sororities and states or countries that you visited, or things that are close to your heart, a sports team, a spiritual symbol that is close to you, things that make people express their personality and who they are. I'm really excited about it, and not just in the jewelry realm. I really want to move into things for the home and, like phone cases, things that people use to show their creativity. And so this whole market that I am moving into, the challenge that I'm facing with it, Sramana, is how do you build the IT around highly customized or personalized items without overwhelming people with choices? Like if you...
And I think I've told you several times, Kimbra, don't go too broad. This is one of the biggest challenges. I face this all the time with the 1M1 entrepreneurs. They have this tendency of going too broad. Going too broad is not the most efficient to build a business, and the constraints and the challenges that you're running into in designing a user interface, just to give customers a catalog to work with, this is going to get out of hand if you have too many choices.
Right.
I believe for a small business, the most efficient way to build a business is to find a segment, to find a rhythm and a formula that is converting at a reasonable rate and so forth, and really stick to that and put all the resources around it that helps you scale that. So if you try to go too broad into home and, this, that, and other things, this is going to get out of hand. You're not a large enough company to be able to tackle all these things. And you're going to run into problems. I know you want to, I think instinctively you're a creative person and you've been doing this for a long time, so you want excitement, and you want other things to happen that are going to give you opportunities to express yourself. But be careful not to lose the discipline of what makes the business tick.
Yes, and that's one of the things I love about working with you is you're very black and white, and I appreciate that. So you're right. I think that one of the other challenges or things that I'm looking at is branding, and whether or not to, either with the new line or the existing line, dropping the word studios. And I wanted to talk with you about that, just moving to more of a brand of Kimbra.
Well, I think that question comes out of, the answer to that question comes out of a bunch of different things. One of the exercises that I would like you to do is to go do some search engine optimization keyword analysis of what, especially if you want to harness traffic from the search engines, what keywords are driving traffic to your site and how are you harnessing that traffic, and what are those keywords? You know, because if the keyword that is driving traffic to you is custom photo jewelry, then we want to harness that, capture that in your branding. But then that positions you in the custom photo jewelry segment, and you lose your opportunity to, or I know you have aspirations to do home, then that eliminates some of those options. How much you're going to do in the brand constrains you, but at the same time, if you have something in your brand, the search engine impact of that is huge. So this is a very complex question, and I'd like you to actually go start spending some time on the SEO section of the curriculum and start dialoguing with me there. So learn the SEO module and start dialoguing with me there, and I want you to hold the decision on branding till we've had that work, you know, that research and that background work done.
Okay, makes sense. Makes great sense.
All right.
Yeah, and that's really all I have. I'm sorry?
Please feel free to talk to the attendees and what ideas they have listening to you. And while you do that, we are going to move to Kevin Fullerton of PartingOut.com.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
Just basically a little nutshell, my business is we've created what we're doing is creating an online salvage marketplace, and one of the benefits that we got with going through the 1 million by 1 million is just kind of redefined what we're actually doing, and you know, help to really clear our focus. And what we found out is there's a tremendous amount of parts that are not being sold. And Sramana kind of described that in our first meeting, you know, as kind of the non-top 20 parts. She kind of saw right to our business, and that is correct. So there is a lot of parts in the parting out business that are not being sold, and so we're after that niche that people are saying no to when many times the parts are available. It just needs to change the environment. So what we have done is gone in and tried to build a better marketplace that not only allows you to sell your top parts, although there is a lot of venues out there to do that or that are hugely successful, but then on the second tier sellers and the second tier parts, we find that, and you know, like I said, in the current environment, lots of times the answer is no. When the part's really available, it's just we need to massage the way the deal works. So we have been working on that for the last couple of years, and we kind of got the proof of concept built, went through there, have had several you know, deals made of things that we've posted. We've definitely had users and all that have used the site and have made things work. So now we're beginning to kind of focus down. We've just started doing a little bit of advertising and beginning to get some things working. We are based.
One of the things that Kevin came into the program with is an immense amount of domain knowledge about the aftermarket auto part industry. So he knows this business inside out, but in an offline mode. And what he's trying to do here with PartingOut.com is to create this marketplace, translating that offline business into an online business and learning the mechanics of how to build an online exchange. And it's been a challenging process, but there are some assets that Kevin has, like he has a mailing list, an email list of what, Kevin, some 50,000 people who are in this business, sort of?
I have around 500,000.
500,000. That's right. I remember it was a very large number, and we have been very careful not to, use that email list in cavalier ways without fine-tuning how to convert. Whether we have the infrastructure, the user interface that is conducive to conversion before that entire list of 500,000 starts to be deployed. So it's, one of the primary strategies of what we are testing at partingout.com. Again, we believe very much in experimentation and testing. So you're going to have to take small chunks of your assets. In this case, Kevin's taking small numbers of email IDs and running these test campaigns on the partingout.com site.
Yes, and I appreciate you kind of getting back on track. That is true, and that's kind of where we're at. I did have the big email list. We do have a lot of domain knowledge, but getting people to convert from visiting to actual users. Now, I just kind of reconfirmed, since we've been on the program, Sramana, we have gone over a little over 500 people have actually signed up, verified their email address, and so we have about a little over 500 people have signed up to use the site. Out of that, about 50 of them have gone through to the next step to actually become qualified sellers. So they've gone through the basic sign-up and also entered the credit card information so where they can now sell on the site. Along what you said, I was finding, and you may can tell me, Sramana, on this. I looked this morning. Just from the first of the year, and the first 6 months of the year, we have very little traffic. Weren't even, Callie hadn't really started working on that real hard, but so the first 6 months of the year, we were only getting around 50 to 60 people a day coming to the site, unique visitors and direct visitors. Callie is getting to close to where she has that almost tripled. We're getting around 1,200 to 1,500 a week coming to the site. So from January 1 through today, we've had about 35,000 visitors. You take that, and then we've had about 500 actual sign-ups. We're finding that's why what you said, I really have been very cautious about that first impression and trying to, I think our biggest thing that we need to work on right now is we're just not getting our story told. So we're working on a redesign on the front page because people are coming to it, but I think there's still a little bit of confusion. It's kind of can't see the forest for the trees. I've been in this so long that you begin to expect things as opposed to getting a better story told. So,
right, and we've gone over some of this in your UI review at one of the private roundtables, and yes, and this is exactly why I want you to kind of hold launching a campaign on that whole 500,000 list that you have, because until we get that messaging right, you're going to waste. If you start marketing to that list, you're going to waste. So we absolutely have to. That's exactly where the focus of your effort needs to be right now, is to getting that message right, testing it, and making sure that the conversion rates are starting to happen and people are getting it. So when the people that are currently signed up and so forth, I suggest either you or Callie actually get on the phone and talk to them and get their feedback on what's working for them, what's not working for them, what was challenging for them in understanding what threw them off on the site and so forth, and really do kind of very targeted focus group kind of work to fine-tune the site before you launch the full campaign.
And you've mentioned that kind of before, and that is something Callie has kind of taken over. She's personally getting every email of, and we do have a lot of questions are coming into just the info, hey, how do I list or whatever. So we have taken that information, and although it's limited, but yes, we are calling people direct. We are getting their story. How did you find us? What happened? And that's also insightful of how people are actually finding us and able to use the site.
Why? Why are they trying to find you, or why are they finding you? And you need to speak to that in
Correct. And it's kind of unique how they are finding us a lot of times.
So, folks, that kind of gives you a flavor about the reason I invited Kevin to tell his story in this session is that, you know, there is a lot of nuts and bolts adjustment that goes on in the journey of an entrepreneur, and the situation that Kevin is dealing with is a very, very common situation of testing to see what works, and he has a big kind of piece of ammunition in his hand, which I have been, you know, continuously holding him back on using. And Kevin also has been very, very disciplined about not triggering that 500,000 email list, targeted email list that could be a incredibly powerful tool to launch a campaign on, but only if we get only after we get the messaging right and the understanding of how to bring people on and convert people into active users, paying users, and so forth. And without that, it's going to be a wastage of a big, you know, really great ammunition like a 500,000 targeted mailing list. So this is just to give you a flavor of the kinds of business decisions you need to make to, you know, to give yourself the maximum chance at success.
Correct. And you also, you know, you realize you really have to define your customers, which really in our case, it boils down to really two segments, either kind of the pro, professional, wholesale type user or the retail, but you really do have to, they have way different needs.
Yes. Yes, and you can't necessarily always cater to two very different segments. You have to pick segments. You know, I mean, in the earlier presentation, as I was, you know, talking to Kimbra about focusing, one of the discussions we had at a private roundtable was about men versus women. Kimbra was even considering a line for men, and I discouraged her to do that because, you know, the messaging, the branding, everything is very, very different. If you try to do men and women in jewelry, that is really very difficult to tackle for a small business. In the same way, Kevin is going through these kinds of choices of dealing with retailers versus, or retail users versus wholesale users, and the needs are different. All right. Well, do you want to add anything else, Kevin?
No, I guess the one other thing is kind of that's out there is that we did make a decision from, you know, last time to bring you up to date is that we are making the site completely mobile responsive, and that it solves two problems. It makes it much easier to deal with on a device, and the other thing is it solves the biggest hurdle that I find from the pro users is they don't want to have to do things twice, but if they could actually upload some uninventoried vehicles directly from a single device, and so that's why we chose to go that direction.
Yeah, and it's something that came from customers as well, that they
Correct.
want to take pictures on their mobile phone and upload from the mobile phone. So it's something that you learned by actually interacting with customers.
Which, like you said, though, you find out it's much more than just simply an upload of pictures. It's building a parts list and making all that stuff work that way. So it's a fairly big project.
It's a big project, and folks, again, you know, from a methodology point of view, though, we are constantly shepherding you towards customer feedback and customer introductions. If you have a choice between spending 6 months with customers versus 6 months with investors, please make that trade-off in favor of customers, not investors. Because investors will not invest unless you have customer validation, and you'd rather spend 6 months with customers really getting to the heart of the customer issues than going after investors and wasting your time. All right, that actually gives us a great segue into Gülin, who is working in Palo Alto, California. She's originally from Turkey, and she's going to tell you about what she is doing with her very early stage startup, but very, very smartly navigated. So let's listen to Gülin.
Hi, Sramana. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my progress. As you pointed out, it's very early stage. Our site is under construction, so you guys are welcome to visit, but you know it's not complete just yet. I just can't help but comment on what you just said, Sramana, which is spending time with customers instead of investors. We happened to give a small pitch yesterday. It was a friendly pitch. It's a VC connection of ours. He absolutely wanted to know what was going on. And we gave the pitch, and it completely sidetracked us for the whole day because he just doesn't know what the customers are looking for. So I'm very lucky because I'm following Sramana's program, and I did a course correction and got right back to our customers and what do they want and focused. But I can totally see that being extremely distracting for especially early stage entrepreneurs. Anyways, without spending too much time, I would like to move to the next slide, please. So site outages. When you search online, you come across thousands of examples, literally. These are the ones that we hear about: hosting.com, Twitter, Amazon. Please, let's move to the next slide. But there are many others that we've never heard of. So I want to share very quickly 2 stories from 2 well-respected, successful, and on the smaller side of Silicon Valley companies. The first one is you're looking at a data center technician who happens to unplug the wrong cable. So there are cable redundancies, cable A and cable B. Cable A fails, and then the traffic fails over to B, so there's no site outage, except that because he doesn't have the right documentation, he goes in and then unplugs the cable that was actually working, causing a site-wide outage. It took them 5 hours to figure out what happened, and then 12 hours to restore. They were on the news. A couple of people got fired. The next story, again, true story, again, Silicon Valley story. There's a server problem, and by the way, those are very common for those who don't have the background. And then they send a data center technician in, and the data center technician knows more or less where the server is, where the server with the problem is. And then there are 3 servers in a row that have this amber light. Amber light means there's a problem. And again, he happens to take out the wrong server, which happens to be a load balancer, serving hundreds of servers literally, taking down half of the site. Again, PR issue, a lot of direct and indirect costs. Next slide, please. So there are, on average, 20 downtime events per technology organization over 2 years, so 10 per year. And not all of them we hear about, right, because those are small companies, and not all of them are causing a site-wide outage. But regardless, they're extremely costly. 73% of all data center downtime events are due to human error. Some experts argue that it's 100%. We want to take the conservative approach. And according to my company's research, which is talking to 65 technology organizations, and by technology I mean internet and SaaS companies, in and outside of the Bay Area, we concluded that 1/3 of those 73%, so 24% of those, could be prevented by having accurate and accessible information by the people who needed them. Next slide, please. So now you would think, where is this information, right? This information that which cable is which cable, and then which server is gone wrong. You would think they are really guarded. Actually, no. They are in multiple spreadsheets, in video diagrams, in emails, believe it or not, in emails from vendors, in tools called Rack Monkey and Rack Tables, which all of this is a visualization tool for racks, not automated, all manual, in Post-its and in handwritten notes. no wonder that that information, which we call asset and configuration information, I guess that's the industry standard. All that means is what server do I have, what virtual machines are running on top of it, what are the specifications, etc. That data is extremely inaccurate and inaccessible. Next slide, please. So that's where ops visibility comes in. We take all that data, and instead of having multiple sources, we give one single source of truth. We go from manual to automated, so we do a lot of the auto collection, and then we make for the end result, or the end goal of having the data accurate at all times and very, very accessible. Next slide, please. Perfect. So when it comes to, so this is our market segmentation that I wanted to show. So far, it was setting up the problem. Hopefully, everybody's on board. I'm happy to answer your questions if something doesn't make sense. And I would love to get your opinion and your reactions to my market segmentation and value proposition, which is coming right now. So this is our market segmentation. You see a little arrow that shows the technology, again, internet and SaaS companies, needs changing over time. They usually start on public cloud, and then the more they grow, the more they move to colo and managed services. And I do know that there are exceptions such as Netflix and Zynga, huge companies on the cloud, but usually public cloud is not a very viable option for companies that have needs that are beyond, let's say, 100 or 200 servers. But it depends on the company and their business model, obviously. So once they move to colo and managed services, they can use open source and free tools that we've just talked about, right? The spreadsheets and video diagrams and all that, and that serves them well up until a certain point. Then we realize that there's a huge market gap, and then you reach those guys, enterprises, that have their own data centers, tons of money, and who can afford to buy enterprise solutions. Those enterprise solutions, a couple of examples would be IBM Tivoli, CA, HP OpsView, and it's like $1 million in contract for just 1 year, plus having one full-time person actually managing the software. So it's very, very expensive. So we would love to address this underserved market in between these both ends, right? Open source free versus $1 million at least. And in the middle, we realize that there's a $400 million opportunity. And by the way, these people who are in the underserved market, what do they do today? They don't just sit and cry. They build their own tools. And we have analyzed how much does it cost to build this single source of truth in-house, and how can we help them. We estimate the market to be $400 million in the U.S. only, hopefully twice as big globally. And this is just the start, and we have a much bigger vision in order to add intelligence apps in the future, but this is our starting product and segment.
Let me point out a few things here, Gulin, before we go on. So the number that Gulin is quoting here, this 400 million in the US, we've actually worked behind the scenes together on the total available market model. And there's a lot of work that has gone into coming up with this number. And one of the first pieces of work in that is to understand what is the pricing model, what is the business model, and what is the pricing model for ops visibility. And that, in what we recommend, the methodology we follow in 1M1M, our entire focus is on a bottom-up TAM analysis that uses a real validated business model and pricing model. And please note that, because we see one of the very common errors that we see in the business is some kind of a top-down market size analysis which has really no relevance to anything. No investor takes a top-down market size analysis seriously, and no entrepreneur should take it seriously either, because that doesn't mean anything. The fact that the cloud IT services market is $4 billion, that doesn't help Gulin on how she's going to build ops visibility. She needs to understand What is the pricing model? What is the business model? How many companies are there that are in the sweet spot that she's indicating on this slide? These colo/managed services with 100 to 10,000 servers. That is the sweet spot. How many companies are there in that space? What are they willing to pay per year on a subscription model? And that is the determining factor behind how she has come up with the 400 million in the market size for the U.S. for the next few years. So I just want to underscore that because it's a very, very important piece of your strategy that you have to nail.
Absolutely. And Sramana, if I could just add, I removed the backup slides because they were just very heavy. Thank you very much for explaining that to the community. I just want to share one thing. I did not even take into account the number of companies that are between 1,000 and 10,000 servers. I took into account the number of companies that are in between the range that we spoke with. I mentioned that we spoke with 65 companies and we were choosing them very carefully. We spoke to upper, like bigger ones and then smaller ones. And as soon as we reached the upper limit where they start to say, oh, you know what, I want my customized tools, I have resources, etc., we cut it there. And on the bottom, I chose, actually I didn't even choose a smaller one, but I chose the smaller company that I feel comfortable with saying, oh, you know what, companies like this size will want us. So even the number in between that range is based on our customer interviews. I didn't take that number from anywhere. When I did the top-down analysis, just to joke about it, I just want to share it with the community, it was like $10 billion, okay, instead of 400 million. So I would have preferred that number, but I think that 400 million is very realistic.
Not a credible number, $10 billion.
Why not? $10 billion goal. But yes, so that's just to support your point that top-down is always much higher. Gives great numbers, but, they're not justifiable.
That's right.
Yeah. So
this is actually a very important slide, Gulin. Why don't you go ahead and explain a bit of what you're doing here?
Absolutely, and I want your feedback on this one. I'm a little. So here is, I think I see our working session here on this slide. So what is the value proposition of our single source of truth? It's twofold. One, it eliminates downtime due to human error, right? We give the accurate and accessible information. So we intend to lower the human errors that are causing downtime. And the second bucket is direct cost savings. And I have a huge backup slide on that. I didn't come up with that 130K myself. It's based on how much time the operations guys will be saving because we do give them a very accessible source of information and because we do allow automation. So it's two-pronged under the direct cost savings as well. So the first bucket, that 350K, that is the number that I'm not very comfortable with. I got it from a respect-worthy report that the average cost of one downtime event for technology companies is 350K. But I just spoke with one of our future potential customers yesterday. He's like, are you kidding me? For us, it's $30,000 per minute, and usually it's 5 hours when the downtime is due to human error because you don't know when it's coming from. And those events happen more than once a year. So that number changes very much based on how big the company is, but also their industry, right? If it's e-commerce and if the downtime is happening around Thanksgiving or Christmas time, it's huge, and people literally lose their jobs. So I am thinking of taking that number out and maybe taking security as an analog. When people are buying security products, they know that their network needs to be secure, right? It's not that there's no real dollar amount that you can put to that. It just needs to be secure. In our case,
I'm going to give you a quick insight here. There's a way to tackle this. You should just take a few case studies here. And let's say you do an e-commerce company analysis. You don't necessarily need to take a downtime on Thanksgiving Day, but if you take a downtime of an e-commerce company that sells good volume and just do a few case studies and show them that if it's a e-commerce company in a peak period and there's the site goes down, this could be the amount of downtime cost could be this much. If it's, let's say, an advertising-based company, it could be that much. So just show a few different examples and talk through it, just like you're talking to us through it, of the kind of feedback you're hearing from customers. Just talk through it.
Yes, that is a great suggestion. I will prepare, I have already two case studies in mind. I will prepare that and take that generic number out because it's very meaningless right now.
It undersells your value proposition.
It undersells, exactly. Perfect.
Yep.
And then, okay, perfect. We are moving forward. This is just a quick overview of our product. We don't need to spend too much time. This is to say we are foreseeing multiple phases. Once we get to a single source of truth, then we'll get the intelligence. And on top, you see API, command line interface, and GUI. All that means is in order to make this data very accessible, we are considering, we talk to our customers, right, the users of this product, and the users are either DevOps who prefer APIs or system administrators who prefer the command line interface or the managers who prefer the GUI. So it's very difficult. These are all under the same group. They are the operations group. It's very difficult to cater to all of them. And we have decided to focus on API and command line interface only for the beginning because those are our daily users. And that's where our strength is going to come from, the back end of it rather than the front end. Front end also turned out to be extremely expensive for us to afford right now. So it moved on.
And maybe the roadmap, you will get to it. But right now, to get a product out and start getting paid for it and developing customer validation, absolutely.
Perfect. If you don't mind, I would love to just I want to move over this very quickly. We talked about it. We will be reducing outages due to human error with giving accurate information and accessible information. I'm okay to move to the next slide. And then this is how we these are the bundles under direct cost savings, allowing server-built automation, allowing search and reporting, automated data collection, and elimination of orphan equipment. I think we can move forward on this one as well. Thank you. So now I want to talk about this one too, the ROI analysis. So for a company with 1,000 servers, our business model is $2 per server per month. I didn't come up with that number. Our customers, actually 3 different customers offered that to us based on our value proposition. So we decided $2 is probably the right amount of money for them to pay. That comes back to $24,000 a year. So based on the previous numbers, of Visibility's value add is almost $500,000 a year. It could be more than that, could be less than that based on the number that we would give to outages. So I see a 20x return. What do you think about this?
I think it's good.
Okay, so it's not crazy to say this. Okay. I have mentioned earlier that we did look into people's tools that they built in-house. And we analyzed 4 in-house tools that have been built by our potential customers. And it cost them $260K over 3 years. So if they were not buying it from us and they were building it, and if we take $260K as the cost, we still offer $10K, and then the ratio is obvious, $260K to $24,000. What do you think about that ratio?
I think it's not only that ratio, there's a lot of hassle in building this stuff in-house.
Exactly, yes.
The time, the operational overhead, the maintenance and all these things are a real headache. So it's not just the 10x in pure dollar terms. There's also a lot of soft costs.
Okay, and that's what I meant by indirect costs just below, lack of internal support, the engineer leaves, substandard user experience, opportunity cost, etc. Okay, so there's a lot of soft costs as well, but you're comfortable with these numbers?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Next slide, please. So this is an extremely busy slide. We don't have to go through all of them, but this is our competition slide, basically. And the columns are our differentiators, and the rows are different buckets of competitors. So I didn't just take direct competitors, but also tangential ones, right? The ones that are not doing exactly the same thing, but that could be used for that purpose. And then analyzed it. should I go through this, or I have some questions at the end that I would love to move to? I'm taking a little bit of time.
Yes,
I'm okay. So in 3 months and a half, with the help of your program, Sramana, I built my team. I signed up our first client. Well, we signed up our first client, and now we have new clients interested that we're not serving right now. And currently, we're working full speed on building our MVP, and hopefully, it will be ready in 6 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So next slide. So now my challenge is, so a couple of fold. One, I feel like my next step is to figure out our customer acquisition strategy. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do, and I think you know that what we started with earlier today. You said that you talked to one investor and it was a complete distraction. Just think about talking to 30 investors now. How much of a distraction it is going to be? I would rather you spend those, you know, that investment or that energy in talking to 30 customers. And I think you'll make a lot more progress, and it'll be easier to raise money once you have the MVP done and a couple of paying customers. That's just my instinct.
Okay.
However, if you want to talk to investors, I will introduce you to investors. But I think it's just if it's a question of $20,000-$25,000, I think we should just put our heads together and see if you can pull that together from customers or from friends and family or your savings, whatever. But I think, you know, if for $20,000 to $25,000 going out to raise a serious investment round is going to be an immense overhead.
Effort, yes. Okay, so you're saying forget about fundraising for now. Let's make it happen if it's $20,000, $25,000. And actually, we became very creative in building our products with as little money as possible. So it looks like it's going to be like $5,000 instead of $25,000.
All right.
Which I'm really, yeah. Well, I cut out all the nice visual stuff that people thought they wanted, but then they weren't necessarily willing to pay extra for. So I'm like, okay, are you going to be happy with this crappy user interface, but it does the job? And he's like, yeah, then I'm cutting it out. So it's much cheaper now. So you're saying don't raise funds, which I totally agree with. Talk to more customers. My next step is to figure out our customer acquisition strategy, on which I did not spend that much time yet. And then maybe focusing on making our first customers a success, right?
Yes, absolutely. Let's just double down on your customer acquisition strategy. You go study the module and do exactly what you're doing with me on a regular basis, asking questions and fine-tuning your strategy, and let's just stay focused on getting the customer. And $5,000, I'm pretty sure we can find a customer to shell out $5,000.
Yes. Yes, perfect. Then it looks like I did start to watch the customer acquisition strategy modules yesterday, and I always start to form an opinion. So then it looks like we're going to be in touch. My next steps are focus more on customers, and again, customer acquisition strategy, put on hold fundraising, and build the MVP.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Very good progress, Gulin. Excellent progress.
Thank you, Sramana. So we can pass all these. I'm done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ajit, you're up next.
Hi, Sramana. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Well, congratulations on reaching a big milestone, Sramana. I'm glad to be a part of the 1M1M program. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what we do, Awaaz, and I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you at the end of my talk. My company is based in the IIT Madras Research Park in Chennai, in India, and we make a product called Awaaz. Awaaz means speech in many European, Asian, and Middle Eastern languages, and the product is a tool for children who can't speak. It's a communication aid that helps children with disabilities, with speech disabilities, to be able to communicate and to learn language. The next slide, Sramana. This is a screenshot of Awaaz. So we started Awaaz out as a device, and it's now available thanks to Sramana's advice actually, as an app for the iPad. Now, the way that this app works, right, this is Aavaz, is that it helps children with autism communicate using pictures. Now, children with autism, autism is something that's a big problem today. It's huge. Everybody is coming face to face with it in one form or the other, and no one seems to understand, what causes it or how it can be controlled or anything like that. But one of the things that people have discovered about autism is that it's characterized by a difficulty in language acquisition and in being able to acquire language skills through verbal communication. So children with autism have difficulty with understanding the way that words represent ideas and the way that words are combined to create sentences which also represent ideas. So what we've done, and this is something that's based on many years of speech therapy that have been done by people over the last several decades, is that we don't use words to communicate, we use pictures to communicate. And so you can see that the interface for Aavaz that's there here, it's full of pictures and it's full of words, it's full of categories that have further words in them, they're all organized. And children can string together words to create sentences, and all of this gets spoken out. So it's completely picture and speech. So it's visual and it's audio. So that's how Aavaz works. Next slide, Sramana. We launched this in the App Store in September 2012. Until that time, it was a device that we were selling, which was essentially an OEM tablet on which we had put Aavaz, and we made a case for it and so on. You can see that in the illustration on the bottom right. But that was being sold primarily in India, where there was no product of this kind ever before. In September, the culmination of several months of development, we launched Aavaz on the iPad App Store, and it's been doing extremely well. In fact, right now it's the #1 top grossing app in the India education store on the App Store, and it's been doing amazingly well in the US and in Australia as well. So these are 3 places from which we've got incredible reviews. The iPad has been quite popular for children with autism, and there are a number of apps that have come out over the last couple of years that target children who have speech disabilities. But Aavaz is, I think, the only app so far which is communication focused, but also completely focused on one disability, which is autism. Again, this was advice that I got from Sramana a couple of years back. It's also one of the very few apps that not just help a child communicate, but actually build language skills. And we've done a lot of work, primarily using the research that was done in India over the last 4 or 5 years, but also in the US, to support the device and the app with a lot of therapy suggestions, with a lot of evidence-based research and so on. Now, Aavaz as an app is about $100, which is pretty expensive for an app, but most of the competitors that we have are nearly double the price of Aavaz. So you have $200 apps, you have $300 apps. So for its performance, for its feature set, for its impact, Aavaz is actually priced cheaper than most of the competitors in this space. The next slide, Sramana. Okay, Aavaz is targeted primarily at children with autism, but obviously the children are not the ones doing the buying. The buying is done by the parents, and the parents often buy through the advice of a speech therapist or a special educator. Now, there are a bunch of different apps that are out there in the market which are targeting this particular demographic of children who can't speak. So we had to spend a lot of time to position our product very carefully. This was the focus that, these 5 or 6 different things here was really the focus that we decided to have with respect to positioning the product, with respect to the marketing. First of all, focus on one disability, autism. So all of our social media, all of our messaging, it's all very autism focused. Even though Aavaz can be used by a lot of other disabilities, we try to position ourselves as being the experts on designing these kinds of apps specifically for autism. We also try to emphasize the research credentials. Everyone in the in the autism community, they appreciate the fact that there are a lot of apps out there, but there's also a growing feeling that there are a lot of people who are just jumping onto the bandwagon and making a lot of wannabe apps. We try to emphasize the fact that there's a lot of research that has gone behind Aavaz, and also the fact that it's worked in so many cases. So there are a lot of examples that we can cite, a lot of technical papers that we've presented, and so on. We've also worked really hard on the design, and because this is an app which is, it's a serious app which is going to be used in speech therapy, it's going to be used in therapy sessions. We've designed it so that it's not just child friendly, but also very user friendly for therapists to incorporate in a session. So that's really the value proposition of Aavaz. One of the big things that we did, after discussing extensively with Sramana, is that we decided that most of our marketing would have to be online. This was a mistake that we made perhaps a couple of years back, because when we had an India-focused product, most of the marketing was offline. We would go visit, give demos, etc. But the cost of sales was so incredibly high that it was really a very big drain on our resources. So now most of our marketing is done online. We've got a list of almost all of the speech therapists that are in America. So we run an email marketing program with them. The idea being that when a therapist recommends an app to a parent, the parent doesn't really compare, doesn't really look at the price, but they know that an expert is saying this is the best app for my kid, so I'd like to buy it. So we do a lot of marketing focused at therapists. Also, because the app is expensive and we don't really have a way of having people do a 7-day trial or a 14-day trial before they buy it, because Apple doesn't allow those kinds of apps in their app store. We've tried to put as much information as possible online about how the app works, how it can be used with specific children, etc. And we've got a very strong social media presence, and we run a lot of Google ads, including on the display network. We've also tried to establish a personal relationship with the experts in the field, the people who are the go-to guys in the space of assistive technology for autism. So the whole focus is really to convince people to buy a $100 app. So any recommendations from experts, any kind of branding, any kind of projection of the product as a research-based product is very useful. Another thing we've been doing is that we've been establishing resource centers. So resource centers are essentially therapy clinics or autism research centers where they have a copy of Aavaz, and if, for example, there's somebody from the Boston area who wants to figure out if Aavaz will work for their kid, but who don't want to buy it until they have some idea that it works well, we would direct them to a clinic in Boston that's our resource center. And so they would be able to walk into the clinic, they'd be able to talk to the speech therapists there, they'd be able to look at Aavaz, maybe also look at a lot of other apps, make a fair comparison, and then buy Aavaz if they think that it's the best app or if their children really like it. So these are some of the ways in which we are trying to reach target customers and reach our market segment. The next slide, yeah. We've done really well. The app was released only a couple of months back, 3 months back really, and we have a 5-star rating on the App Store and a large number of very positive reviews, about 40 very positive reviews. We've been number 1 in the Indian education app store in terms of top grossing, and we've been in the top 100 in the USA as well. Also in Australia, we've had sales in Switzerland, so there's been a lot of sales activity. And now a lot of therapists and speech pathologists all over the world are recommending Aavaz. So more and more people are saying good things about Aavaz. There's a lot of conversations going on about Aavaz online. We've won some really prestigious awards. The highest award in India for people for work that's targeted at people with disabilities. That's a picture of me with the President of India. Also in 2011, we were named to the MIT TR35 list, which is MIT's list of innovators under the age of 35 who are transforming the world, really, in some sense. But I think the real validation of the work has been that there are thousands of kids now who have speech disabilities, who have been able to become integrated into normal education, who've been able to access employment opportunities, etc., because they're Aavaz users. So that's the traction so far. And Sramana, so the next slide is really the question that I have for you. The biggest challenge that we face is that this is a crowded market, and we're doing all of the things that you've been advising us to do, which is to do the marketing, to do the online presence, and all of that, and that's going really well. And my team has got all of that under control, and the investment that we're making into all of that stuff is yielding really positive results, because every month sales grow, sales are doubling, so we're doing really well. But the problem is that the US, because of the entire way this ecosystem is set up, you can't trial an app before you buy it. You have to buy the app, and the apps cost $150, $200. There's an incredible first mover advantage that some of our competitors have that we have to fight against. It's a very difficult fight, because they've been around for a couple of years, and everybody's talking about them, everybody's writing about them. There have been programs in the television about them. So I'm very tempted. I know we've had this discussion before, but I want to figure out, how do you think we can target the non-English speaking market? Autism is a global problem. You know that every country has got almost an equal incidence of autism. But and one of the nice things about Aavaz is it's incredibly easy to make to localize it, to put it in different languages. There's a list of perhaps about 30 languages that I can support out of the box with very, very, very minimal technology effort. Maybe just a couple of $1,000, I'll be able to bring out an app in a different language. My question to you is, how do I exploit that?
Hold on. Here's one question here. You have two decisions to make here. There is the non-US market, that is an English-speaking market, and then there is a non-US market that is non-English-speaking market, right? And those are two different strategies, right? If you have a non-US market but that is English-speaking, you already have the product for it. So it's a question of how to get it out there.
Yeah, but that's not the market I'm targeting, Sramana, because that, again, I have the same competition in that market as well. The market I would like to target, and this is not today, but this is maybe 1 year from now, but I want to start preparing right now, is a market like France, a market like Japan, South Korea. South Korea, the incidence of autism is 1 in 40. In every 40 children, one of them has autism, right? And they have nothing like this, nothing. They don't have a single thing like this. They see the apps on the App Store. They see that they're English language focused, and I get tons of emails every day from people who want it in their own languages.
Okay. So I think we're going to have to prioritize those markets and see where you want to go, and what is what platform do you want to go with? Is it an iPad app? Then in which case you need to basically prioritize on the basis of iPad penetration. And then there are some other things going on right now which I can introduce you to if you want to explore. Like, for instance, I'm quite closely in touch with the Microsoft BizSpark team that is trying to get really good monetizable applications onto the Windows 8 platform. And
I see.
That could be a discussion worth having, is that if they really give you incentives and marketing capabilities behind, they throw their marketing muscle behind you and make you one of their flagship apps in the Windows 8 marketing campaign, that may be worthwhile for us to go, do something with Microsoft. Similarly,
absolutely.
I know a guy who runs RIM's App Store. RIM, for instance, they own Indonesia. Indonesia is a very large market, and RIM owns Indonesia. BlackBerry is the #1 device in Indonesia. So I could introduce you to RIM, and you could see that there are possibilities like that. Those are also go-to-market strategies in collaboration with platforms that are trying to make a big splash. So those are possible strategies we could explore.
Yes, those are fantastic strategies, and I'd love to be put in touch with those people. Sramana, I think if I had to port Aavaz onto a different platform, that would take a significant amount of money. But if I had to support a new language with iOS or with Android for that matter, that's $2,000 per language. So it's, you know, I've calculated how much time it would take. I need to find a local partner. This is something that you told me quite a while back.
Yes.
But my question is,
the language and content you need help with.
I'm sorry?
Language and the content you're going to need help with.
Yeah, the language and the content to some extent, but that's not very difficult to get done using volunteers in different countries. I think the more important question is how to market. You know, how can I find a partner who's willing to provide support and who's willing to be present at all of the local conferences, who's willing to talk to the local governments, who's willing to go to the local schools?
What about just putting it out? If it takes $2,000 to put a South Korea with Korean app in the iPad store, you know, in the iOS store, if there's actual demand in the market, what if you just put them out and make it available? Do the reviews translate? The reviews that you have in America or elsewhere, will the reviews translate? Will people be able to look at those reviews?
They won't be able to look at it through the App Store, but we can make that available. My biggest concern is about support. You know, when somebody buys a $100 app, they're going to expect some level of support, at least email support. And you know, if somebody mails me in Korean, there's no way that I can reply to them.
You could always say that the app is in Korean, but the support is in English. At least to start to get into the market, you can start with that. The ideal scenario will be somebody providing support in Korean, but you can, you know, a product that has demand and no competition, people will cut you a lot more slack for it.
Even if it's priced at $100.
Question of just getting the product out there and if it's a good product, getting people to use the product and providing support in English, that's fine, I think.
I see. Okay, that's an interesting idea. So you're suggesting just go with it by myself without looking for a local partner if I can't find somebody?
Have evidence that there is demand in that market. You have to test the market and you have to do some analysis to figure out is there and what is the competitive landscape. If the competitive landscape really is open and you're getting, you know, queries from that market, and if it only costs $2,000 and your sales, American sales have already started, and Indian sales have started, and Australian sales have started, so it's a product that's generating revenues, and if you want to take some of that and those revenues, like $2,000 per pop, per market, and launch in other languages, I don't think that's a huge problem. I don't think support is the gating item there. Okay.
Okay, that's great to know, Sramana. So I'll try to plan around that. All right, so thank you very much. That's been incredibly useful.
You're very welcome. All right, folks, that is a window into our premium members actually in a working session. This is what we do when we are behind the scenes, behind our private roundtables. This is what we do with them. We work on their businesses, and then they go away and implement what we discussed and come back and you know, test other ideas and feedback and so on and so forth. So this is how we work, and this is how each of them have made progress. And as you heard, many of them have been with the program for a couple of years already and making serious progress. So my request to you, if you found this interesting and valuable, my request to you is please bring 10 serious entrepreneurs into the program. We are really looking for good entrepreneurs to come into the program and use the resources that we've put together, and then we've put together an immense amount of resources. Let me walk you through what those resources are so you know how to use the program. Your exploration starts at 1mby1m.com. That's where the program resides. You can also use our blog, which is a free resource chock full of case studies, trends, and all sorts of information. A lot of people follow the blog. I think we have a large community of blog readers who are using the blog to stay abreast with what's going on in startup land. And then the Entrepreneur Journeys book series starts to synthesize some of these lessons and methods of the 1M1M program. Two key pieces, and you've heard this today quite a lot, positioning. You know, we emphasize greatly on positioning and go-to-market strategy. And we emphasize greatly on bootstrapping. You heard me talk about bootstrapping in today's session multiple times and really focusing on getting to customers and to revenues. And Dan talked about it, that he decided not to raise money and bootstrap. Gulin is going the same route. She has, instead of chasing investors, she is really focused on customers and making great progress. As a result of that, Ajit, and we didn't talk about that, Ajit has actually used a strategy called bootstrapping using services, which we have full modules and you know, training material on. We use this strategy extensively. We have a lot of entrepreneurs using bootstrapping using services as their methodology and very successfully. Ajit is a great case study in that realm. So these Entrepreneur Journeys books start to give you some synthesis of our methodology, and the blog is at sramanamitra.com, by the way. Then we have free strategy roundtables pretty much every week. This is what we're doing, 150th Roundtable. Over 15,000 people have attended these roundtables. We've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs at this point, and I will give you one feedback. Based on all these coaching sessions that we've done for the last 4 years, we have a very, very deep understanding of what kinds of issues early stage entrepreneurs or small business owners are facing. And we have developed curriculum modules to address every single one of those issues. So if you are trying to get to a very quick, efficient method of learning what you need to learn to be a successful entrepreneur, this is one of the most powerful programs out there with one of the best curriculums. The curriculum, I'll talk to you more about the curriculum in a minute. The curriculum, however, is part of the premium program. It is not free. So a $1,000 annual membership fee gives you access to the curriculum, to private roundtables, to extensive methodology guidance through the program, business development, you know, customer introductions, channel partner introductions, investor introductions, all this you heard some of today, of the kinds of introductions people are using. And also we do work with media. We help you with PR and media access, analyst access, and so on and so forth as well. I recommend that you start with the 1M1M self-assessment. It is a 9-point questionnaire that starts getting you focused on the issues that you need to emphasize and really get deeply into. And if you're a premium member, each of these questions have curriculum modules attached to them to help you learn how to tackle those issues. Again, the site is 1m1m.com. On the top right corner, you will find the premium program and FAQ as well as video FAQs to explore further on the details of the program, what to expect from the program. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient, bootstrap startup. So that is something that you'll hear over and over again, is how to do what you need to do in a very capital efficient manner. Now, how have we built this curriculum? It's structured as a core curriculum and elective modules. In the core, we have 7 topics covered: bootstrapping, positioning, market sizing, customer validation, financing, customer acquisition, and team building. On the elective side, we have areas where we see the trends of today's business: Web 3.0 and e-commerce, cloud computing and business solutions, outsourcing and consulting, mobile and social apps, healthcare IT, online education, gaming. These are our core modules, elective modules. And the way we deliver the curriculum is, remember, we have coached hundreds of entrepreneurs at this point, and what we've done is triangulated the issues of these entrepreneurs with solutions from successful entrepreneurs. We have developed, since 2006, we've been developing case studies. We have developed hundreds of case studies, over 600 case studies. Every year we add about 75 to 100 case studies. And these case studies are of successful entrepreneurs who have shared with us how they have tackled specific challenges. And we have basically triangulated the issues of the early stage entrepreneurs and the solutions from the successful entrepreneurs and developed these video lectures and case study based curriculum. And you should plan on spending about 50 hours on core curriculum and another 50 hours on elective curriculum. We probably have about 150 to 200 hours of curriculum in the program right now, but I'm saying that from your point of view, you should budget 100 hours to really deeply understand the curriculum and use it to develop your strategy. We do have an affiliate program, so those of you who are attending the session who represent an incubator or an entrepreneurship development program, we do partner very well and very willingly. We have an affiliate model where we pay 10% affiliate fees. So our upcoming free roundtables are December 6th, December 11th, December 13th, and December 20th. Of these, December 11th is the IBM Smart Camp Barcelona roundtable, where we'll be working with IBM Spain to focus on entrepreneurs who are part of the Smart Camp. And just a final book referral, if you're looking for an idea to work on and if you're working in a developing market, emerging market, Vision India 2020 has $45 billion business ideas that are development economics-oriented business ideas, and you will find a lot of interesting nuggets in there. So going back to our contest, actually, I want to make sure that we go back to the contest and remind you that we have a contest running. Maureen, if you could please provide the contest URL in the public chat. I was looking for the contest URL at the end of the session. I'm surprised that it's not there, Maureen. The New Year Challenge is launching today. At this roundtable, we are launching a New Year Challenge. You are going to be able to apply for a 1M1M scholarship. We will be awarding 12 scholarships. The finals will be January 10th and January 17th. However, you need to submit your applications and get your friends to vote for you. This is going to be a contest where the finalists will be chosen by the audience. So we will put up the companies that we think are worthy companies for a voting round, and you really have to work on getting the votes to win and get to the finals. And then we will judge the contest and pick the actual winners during the finals. But you have to get to the finals through a voting round, on a social media voting round. So get working on your applications and start investigating how to win a scholarship, and we will look forward to looking at your businesses if you're planning to apply. And if you want to just join the program and get going, you can just go to 1mby1m.com and sign up for the program. So back to our final word is that this is our 150th 1M1M Roundtable. We are delighted to have you participate in this with us. I know many of you were in the session today, and we had a huge registration list, and I saw many of you in the chat room or just passively listening. We are pretty much coming to the close of the session. I will take a couple of questions from the audience. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the public chat. And let's do a very quick Q&A, and then we will wrap up the session. And thank you all the premium members who have pitched today and participated in the program. The recording will be available in YouTube shortly. And right after the session, the recording will be available on WebEx. So you can share with people in your networks. We will be sending out the recording on Monday to our mailing list. Anybody? Any questions? Any comments? We deal with online publishing, absolutely. We don't deal with necessarily traditional publishing, but if you're looking at a publishing company that is trying to transition into the online publishing world, we could definitely help you with that. So our focus is IT and IT-enabled services. We don't really work outside of the IT and IT-enabled services world, but publishing, online publishing is an IT-enabled service. It falls in the category of web businesses, and we are very strong in web businesses. Anybody else? Christina. Your question is, what would be the right time in an entrepreneurial stage to pitch to you? The answer is any time, as early as possible, and whenever you want. As you saw today, Kimbra has been in business for, a good 14 years. So she came into the program earlier this year, and dealing with certain challenges in her business. At the same time, Dan told you that he came into the program and then incorporated his business. So you can come into the program anytime you want, and we like to have you early so that you don't spend a lot of time making mistakes that are perfectly avoidable, and we would like you to follow the methodology, which is very helpful, I think. Priyanka, your question is about bootstrapping, whether to invest in PPC or SEO. It depends on what the category is and what you're doing. What is the competitiveness in PPC versus SEO? If you can do it by SEO, it is cheaper, yes. But some cases, if the competition is not as high in PPC, can be also quite effective. And there are ways of managing using PPC in the display advertising category. We actually have a module on how to use PPC without paying the high click cost, but using the display advertising capabilities of PPC. You should look into that as well if you're a premium member. HR is us saying, I don't know what your name is, it says HR. This is my first taste of 1M1M, a great experience. Quick question, what type of participants would not be a good fit to your programs? If you're working on a very capital-intensive business, that is not our sweet spot. So for instance, if you need $50 million to launch a chip, that is not our sweet spot. If you're trying to build a solar farm or a water desalination plant, and that requires hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, that is not our sweet spot. Biotech and pharma are not our sweet spot, although we are quite strong in healthcare IT. So anything that we can do with our model of capital efficient startups, we can definitely work with you. In HR, I think Kimbra is answering your question as well. Thank you, Kimbra. Anybody else? All right, well, looks like we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you very much for attending, and please spread the word. That is our one humble request to you, is if you find this useful and compelling, please spread the word. That is the one help you can give us, is really referring the program to other people who are looking for help in the entrepreneurship world. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for attending.